Episode 47 of the Interpretation Station is called to order. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, for a new episode in the Wham Bam Thank You format. It's been a while. I've been a bit busy the last couple of weeks, so I thought to myself, geez, I've got to get an episode out. I haven't done a Russian Wham Bam Thank You Roland in quite some time, so I'm going to make up for that today. We've got a text for you today that I put up on the group, on the Interpretation Station group a few weeks back. It's dated, in fact, I'll share my screen with you now. That's perhaps the easiest thing to do. It was dated the 22nd of February of this year. Again, it was during that long session of the Human Rights Council from where I've taken a lot of statements, actually. I've been putting them up. I really did pull out a big sheath of them. So that's what I've been using mainly until something better comes along. So this was a thematic debate, a high-level thematic debate to mark the 20th anniversary, again, of the Durban Declaration and Programme of Action, which can be often called a DDPA. During a meeting on that sort of thing, they quickly revert to just saying the DDPA. So this was by Russia. And let's have a look at what some of the words I gave you then in this statement. Okay, so the first thing, this is always, again, this is a very basic, thing to start with. Всеобъемлющий подход. So, that's always going to be the best thing, is the comprehensive approaches. Okay, when you have всеобъемлющий, you just go for comprehensive. Don't play around too much. You don't have to go with all-encompassing. I mean, you can if you're bored, but yeah, just play safe. Go for comprehensive. Generally, with the Russians, there's not much room for showing off. You just want to basically get over the critical information. Not much room for showboating with the Russians. Okay, борьба с различными проявлениями расизма. This is a classic, one of my favorite words, combating. In this instance, manifestations of racism. Again, that's just the sort of set formulation for this kind of thing. Again, don't play around with it. You're just combating manifestations of racism, racial discrimination, etc. Okay. Next line here. С тех пор мы стали свидетелями. So, I mean, that just means we witnessed, doesn't it? You don't have to say we became witnesses to. It just really means we witnessed those two words. Now, this next pair of words are серьезных перемен. This is interesting because I initially put this up in the group. I was challenged to my choice of solution here. So as you see, I've put in upheavals. Now, the gist of what the person in question was questioning was that generally upheavals in English are seen as negative. And in this sentence, the connotation is that they're good, because as you can see, okay, you're saying there have been many, well, let's just say there have been big changes in the world, and this is balanced against the fact that the однако, the however, racism, ethnic, religious intolerance are still around, okay? So the sort of connotation is that the серьезные перемены are good, and that stands. Now, is the word upheavals always a bad thing? Now, to me, so I mean, I've been brought up, born, bred in the UK, spoken, English is my native tongue. I'd say upheavals are more associated with bad things than good things, yes. However, not always, you can just they can be sort of neutral in a way. It's just, it points to a whole changing of the order. The old order being replaced by the new order, and it's up to you whether you find it a good or a bad thing. So to me, upheavals is fine, okay? But I also understand the point that perhaps they're more associated with negative phenomena. So anyway, as a compromise, perhaps we could have, you could maybe say transformations if you wanted something. I think transformations perhaps has more of a positive edge to it. Okay, so if you wanted to get that positive connotation across, but I think both would be fine. Upheavals, transformation. Okay, now I was quite pleased with this next one. Экстремистские движения вновь поднимают голову. Okay, you could say raise their head, but of course, I think the sort of classic solution here is they rear their head, they rear their ugly head, I guess is what we would really say, in English. But I mean, you don't have to say the ugly, just they're rearing their head again. Идея расового и национального превосходства. Now, so I've given you here for превосходство расового, so the racial supremacy. That's really the sort of collocation. Now, sometimes the Russians will criticize the Americans sort of for their, the idea of American exceptionalism. And they'll use the same word превосходство in that context. So, yeah, there's room for both. I guess you could say it's national exceptionalism. But I thought because with the Rasov, I think supremacy was a better fit here. But again, remember when the Russians criticize the Americans for this sort of credo, this American credo of it tends to be American exceptionalism. Okay, беспрепятственно распространяются. So good, a good adverb here is unhindered. All right, that's the best thing. They spread virtually unhindered. Then scrolling down. При этом государство, позиционирующее себя в качестве главных поборников. Okay, so I've given you the позиционирующее as posing as, okay? I think that's perhaps the most straightforward solution. Another one that came to me was maybe masquerading as. I think posing as is going to come to you quicker simply because of pos, okay? Позиционирующее, posing. These little things, when interpreting these little connections, often, they're helpful little tools, just those, posicionerish, that can sort of just trigger that pause can trigger that English equivalent, posing. So that's why it might be an easier solution given masquerading. And then obviously, okay, себя в качестве, you don't need that. I mean, that posing as says it all, really. And then главных поборников, I've just given you one word there, the champions. I think that, again, in English there's often one single word that can encapsulate 2 or 3 words from the source language, and I think in this case is another good example of this. Now, here's a favorite Russian expression, and it's important to see what I've written in the notes here. Прикрываясь ссылками, прикрываясь ссылками на право на свободу выражения мнения. Okay, and I've put a big star here, so I've given you skulking behind. That's what you did at school. You'd skulk behind someone. I don't know if that might be a very British English expression. I think it works in this case. So, but anyway, I say here, okay, прикрываясь мнения, a notion the Russians talk about all the time. Find some wording you're comfortable with. Now, I think there was another Wham Bam Thank You Roland text. I gave you playing the freedom of speech card. They're forever playing the freedom of speech card. That's another option. And then another one just came to me this morning, actually. You could just say, I guess, практически бездействие, they do nothing, on the pretext of defending freedom of speech. I think that would be quite a sort of natural, fluid way of saying that in English. So I would, just take out the right to freedom of speech and just saying, on the pretext of defending freedom of speech. That's what we tend to sometimes drop the right to. We just talk about defending freedom of speech. So that's another idea. Like I say, the important thing is that you find a formulation that sits comfortably with you and that you can just basically spit out on demand. Okay, moving on. Не являются единичными случаями. Okay, so we would just say in English, one-offs. You don't have to do anything more than that, like a single event or anything like that. Just a one-off, all right? Особенно наглядно это проявилось. So again, in English, I'm just trying to be natural here, okay? Because it's much easier to, when you're sort of, this is a much more natural thing to say in English. This has been particularly so. This has been particularly the case. Rather than trying to render every word in the same spirit, this has manifested itself particularly evidently. Oh man, that's such a mouthful. Just think for a moment. What would I say here in English? What makes tongue easier? So this has been particularly the case. This has been particularly so during COVID. The one thing actually, во время пандемии COVID, которая вывела на поверхность глубоко укоренившееся социальное неравенство. I was going to say, so вывела на поверхность. Now, I didn't mark anything here when I did the text, but what I was thinking of at the time, okay, just like brought to the surface, and brought to the surface is that's it, that's the solution. But it also occurred to me just this morning, I guess it means that it's exposed, right? Just exposed. That those three words could be just pared down to exposed, which has exposed deep-rooted social inequality. So that's another one to think about. And obviously, I've just given you the deep-rooted there. So I'm quite pleased with that one, for exposed, for vivela poверхность. And then, okay, when we talk about discrimination, we talk about discrimination on whatever grounds they may be. So in this case, racial, ethnic, religious grounds, all right? Here's another example, again, where you've got quite chunky Russian words that can pretty much be synthesized into one in English. Являются несомненным свидетельством. Okay, and I think you could just say that they are a testament to. So if I was to do that, if I was to render that whole sentence in English, I'd say, last year's protests in the US in response to police violence and lawlessness against people of African descent, or Afro-Americans, whatever, are a testament to the structural nature of discrimination. Or perhaps you could say attest to the structural nature of discrimination. So I think both of those solutions would work well in that case, without the need to go to saying they are an unquestionable demonstration of the structural nature, for example. Okay, and then another one I was pleased with here. Поразивший систему госуправления этой страны, which have plagued the system or beset the system. Those are good words when some sort of calamity is affecting a country, something that's plagued, in a really bad way. So plaguing a system or besetting a system. And to finish again, we have, and I get two more Russian words here that can be synthesized into one English one. Характерным признаком, and again, this is a common thing for the Russians to say at the start of a sentence. Характерным признаком системного расизма. I think we can just say a trademark, right? I think rather than, again, a characteristic sign, again, I think in English that's a collocation that we can synthesize into just a trademark, or maybe a hallmark, whichever you prefer, trademark or hallmark. I prefer trademark anyway. Is state policy. Okay, so I think that's a really good text. There's some really good words to be looked at there. Some really good solutions that might be able to help you. This kind of statement is pretty classic, a sort of classic Russian statement to make on issues such as racism. For example, in the US, in the General Assembly, third committee, second committee, when they talk about this kind of thing, these are the kind of expressions they're going to be using a lot. And so, as I say, it's good for you to just have a good set idea of a lot of them. So again, that you can just knock them out on demand, pretty much, when they're speaking. So, hope that is useful for you. Hope that's cleared up any uncertainties you may have had before. Okay, so if you like that video, please do give me a thumbs up. If you haven't done so already, please do subscribe. Get notifications when new videos come out with the bell. And I'm not going to waste any more of your time, Start the weekend. You have my permission to go and enjoy yourself. I'm going to wrap up here. Episode 47, the interpretation station is adjourned.
The train is now leaving the interpretation station. We hope you enjoyed your visit. Until next time, folks.